Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Zoom podcast episode of Two Peas in a Podcast. I am joined by the lovely Carls.
Hi.
So today we are going to talk about seasonal affective disorder, also known as S.A.D. S-A-D. Carl's brought this up, and I think it's really important that we talk about it because where we live, Edmonton, Alberta, there's a lot of darkness. We're north, so in the summertime we get light until like 11 p.m. But in the wintertime, it's 4:30, it's 5 o'clock, and we're already getting the sun setting. So not having that vitamin D intake and just kind of getting that through the sun, it affects our mood. And we thought that it was very valuable to have a conversation surrounding seasonal affective disorder.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people might not even know that they are implicated by like seasonal affective disorder, or that they have they might think, oh, it's just depression, but then it goes away and they're thinking, oh, like, what's that about? So I'm sure it can be quite confusing. And I know a lot of people in our area, because Amelia, like you said, we're so far north and the sun is setting it now, like it's like setting now. It's like 3:30. It's going to set at like 4 o'clock. That's really early. So we're lacking, like you said, a lot of the enriching vitamin D and power that we get from the sun. So super important to talk about, and just kind of like getting it out there, because I think a lot of people aren't educated on this topic. And so, yeah, basically it's as simple as major depression with kind of seasonal patterns. So especially here in Edmonton, noticing those changes in the winter with the sunlight intake and that kind of thing. So, it's getting darker sooner, it's getting colder sooner, and that affects our mood for sure. It affects my mood, definitely. There's a lot of stress financially that's happening right now. We're going to pile the COVID onto everything. There is a lot going on, so I'm sure a lot of people will be implicated by this year especially. So, what can be done by this, really? There are a few methods to treat seasonal affective disorder. Obviously, you can seek out counseling, and those people will be able to better support you. And we're huge advocates for psychological assistance. But basically, it's, what's happening in the body is it's upsetting your internal, your biological clock, right? When it's getting darker sooner, and our body's like, what the heck's going on? I don't know how to process this. I don't like this. This sucks on top of everything else that sucks right now. And so I just don't want to deal with any of this, and I'm just going to shut down. And that's where the depression happens, right? So it disturbs our neurotransmitters and our serotonin and our dopamine and the functions of those impactful things that are happening in our brains. So there are risk factors for developing this. Women are, I didn't know these before, so I'm just going to kind of read them off. Women are more likely than men to be diagnosed. That's just to be diagnosed. That's not specifying if they're more likely to carry it. But as we know, women are more likely to seek out help. So possibly that's why. S.A.D, as we know, is more common in people who live farther north, so like us, or farther south of the equator as well. Young people are more likely to develop it, which I didn't know before. So the risk decreases with age, which I thought was interesting. I actually would have thought the opposite for some reason, and I'm not entirely sure why that is. And then a family history of S.A.D or other forms of depression, that increases your risk as well for this particular affliction. So I guess what can kind of be done about this? Light therapy is important. So I know a lot of people in the winter months, they have little kind of light lamps and different things like that they put on their desk just to get that light, get that UV, get that stimulation. I don't know, have you ever tried one of those light lamps before, Meals?
The S.A.D lamps. No, I haven't before, but every year I always say to myself, I should get one. I don't know what's stopping me, but I keep forget about it or something. But I've heard positive things from them. I've heard that they're helpful.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing too. Just exposure, it is artificial light, so it's not the same as the power from the sun, but I've heard good things, and there's various forms and ways that can happen. There's even some things that you can attach to your phone to your various devices. Obviously, vitamin D is really important for these folks too. So whether that's like little drops or whether you take like a little vitamin type deal, ingesting the vitamin D is really, really important and essential. Talking about it, just like getting it out there, getting known. We're advocates again for talk therapy in general, but just kind of being able to process what you're feeling is a really good first step too. And then this is something that I didn't know existed, but you're brilliant and you probably knew that this was out there. But it's called a dawn simulator.
No, I've never
Have you
heard.
heard of this before? Yeah, so it kind of functions as an alarm clock, but it has like light inside of it and it just simulates you waking up with the sun kind of. Because, you know, we wake up, it's dark outside. We go to bed, like, you know, like you come home from work and it's dark outside. Like it's always dark outside. So I think that this could be a really helpful thing too.
Hmm. I like that. I've never heard of that alarm clock because usually alarm clocks, it's like you're annoyed by them, you want to throw them across the room. If they have this nice light simulation, I feel like that would make the way that we enter the day so much more positive.
Yeah, so rather than waking you up with like this beep, 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 or these like loud sounds or whatever, they just produce light like in a gradual way to wake your body up, to wake your like internal clock up essentially.
Interesting. I feel like I want to look into that because I wake up to, well, depends on the day, but sometimes I won't wake up to an alarm. But when I do, usually it's just like do 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 do, and it's fine. It's not the worst thing, but I'm like, get this off as soon as I possibly can, and I don't want to wake up. But if you have a light, you can't really help but wake up. So that's cool. I like that
Yeah,
idea.
I thought it was cool. And then the only thing that I had left was the use of essential oils can be really helpful too. And they influence the part of our brain that kind of is meant to control our mood. So sometimes people really like, I mean, essential oils are good for a gambit for a variety of things, but I read somewhere that it was especially good for SAD. So that's good to know.
Interesting. I do
Yeah.
feel like whether yeah, like what exactly is going on in my brain, but I do feel happy because it's like light and citrusy and it just fills the space with a nice aroma. So it just makes me feel happier because I have like a positive scent. Yeah,
Yeah.
basically like when I was looking up seasonal affective disorder, it just kind of gives you that definition of a type of depression that's related to changes in season, and it kind of begins and ends about the same time every year, as Carl's was saying. So if you're like most people with SAD, your symptoms probably start in the fall, potentially like September, October, and they continue into the winter months. And what they can do is kind of take your energy and make you feel maybe a little bit more moody than you were before. And especially this year, I'm not sure if it was COVID or if it's just the weather changing. It could be a combination of both. It probably is. I felt deeply, deeply affected by SAD this year because it felt like as soon as October hit and there wasn't that nice weather anymore and it was getting a bit colder, I usually really enjoy fall. This year I just didn't find that joy anymore. I felt like I tried to do fun things and there was joyful moments in that, but I felt really tired and lack of motivation and feeling like I need 10 hours of sleep instead of 7 or 8. And so I felt that hit for sure, and it's still kind of working through. But I take vitamin D every day, and I think it's helpful. I mean, I think it takes a long time for vitamins to start working, so it's good to just take it all year round. But I think it is something that really does help. It's called the sunshine vitamin, so we don't get that sunshine exposure, as Carl's was saying. Living so far north, it's dark by like 4:30. So if you're working a 9 to 5 job, you get to work and it might be light when you're leaving, but you're in your car and then you're in an office all day and you're leaving your office and it's dark. So you don't really get that exposure. So it's important to do things like take vitamin D, have a SAD lamp, that alarm that Carl's was talking about. Just do the little things, take a walk on your lunch break, things like that, just to help you get that vitamin D. Because it's interesting how one vitamin in your body, like a deficiency, will affect how you feel, and it'll affect your energy levels. And with depression, I mean, it's not just psychological, it's physical too. So your mind might feel unmotivated, but your body also feels that too. So it's important to talk about it, talk to the people that you love, talk to a therapist, whoever you're comfortable with, about how you're feeling, because sometimes you experience it for like 4 months and then you feel okay in the summertime, and that can be extremely confusing, thinking, well, how do I feel okay now? I was just kind of hurting for the last few months. So it's important to talk about, and there's some tips, I think. And also, I had a couple more tips to exercising, getting outside, talk about your feelings, stay connected with people. I kind of mentioned all those before, but just getting endorphins flowing through your body by exercising and just, yeah, staying connected with people. I think those are valuable things to help combat SAD.
And again, we're not experts. We're not practicing psychologists yet, hopefully one day, but these are just kind of like to get the ball rolling, some ideas to put out there if you're really feeling the effects of this and it's been noticeable to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's always valuable to say we're not experts. We're learning, and we will be psychologists one day. But right now, we're in school and we're learning and getting some of these tips. And I think as long as like we're acknowledging how we feel and we're validating those feelings, then things are going to be okay. I think when we don't talk and we assume that we're wrong for feeling a certain way, that's when things start to kind of spiral. So very valuable when you're feeling different. You wake up and you feel anxiety or you feel sadness or whatever you're moving through. I think it's important to acknowledge those feelings and seek any kind of help that feels best suited to you.
Yeah, and just like important, like Amelia said, just to like track your mood. Like, oh man, yesterday I was feeling really good. Okay, what happened in my day? Today I'm noticing I'm really like feeling like crap. Okay, what happened this morning? Like, where has that shift? What's been changing in my body? What have I been putting in my body? Just keeping track of all of that is important too.
Yeah, absolutely. Great advice. I find sometimes I'll have a bad day and it's because I ate terribly that day and my body feels sluggish. So I feel sluggish and then my mind feels sluggish. It's like the biopsychosocial modality are all they're all connected. So it's important to acknowledge all components.
Definitely. Okay, well, I think that wraps up this episode. Thanks everybody for watching. If you are affected by this, yeah, try out like some of this stuff. Maybe you'll see a difference. Hopefully you gain something of value from this episode. But thank you always for listening or watching, and remember to follow us on Instagram.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for supporting us, and we hope you found value in this episode.